we are honored to be joined by the owner and the founder of the Hockey Writers, somebody that I certainly have looked up to over the course of time, and many writers who have come through here have. So we're going to welcome Bruce Hollingdrake in to the Hockey Writers Live. Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Mark. Thanks a lot for having me on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very good these days. Family is healthy. Business is good. No complaints.
Yeah, and that's the really cool part about it. Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's lockdowns in a lot of different places and health scares all over. Business is really good. Why do you think that's been?
That's a good question, especially considering the flux that hockey's been in. Personally, I'm a little surprised and confused how our site has been able to stay strong with a lack of hockey or and a messed up schedule. I do know we've been pumping out a ton of terrific content, and our writing staff has probably never been stronger. So I'm sure that's the biggest reason. But it's still a little bit weird how there's been a lot of hunger for hockey content. I guess that bodes well for the coming season.
It bodes well for this season. It bodes well for future seasons, and I think fans were just really hungry for hockey. And being able to provide that, and we focus on the NHL, we focus on the here and now, but I think what the site does a really good job of is the historical pieces, and there's just a lot of different kinds of content out there. When you have 150 to 160 writers out there that are producing content, there's something for everybody at all times, and that's applicable no matter what's going on, what time of the year it is, whether it's in season, out of season. I think it's a model that works.
Yeah, and that's actually part of my favorite part of the site is we call it the archives, and our managing editor Dean Plunkett has been doing an amazing job building that up. I'd say about a year and a half ago we really started to focus on it and build up our reservoir of fantastic old content. Not that the content's old, but some older stories, some good historical stories, lots of stuff there, and we publish that material every single day.
It's great, and I believe that if stuff gets a little bit outdated, Dean and the team, they do a good job of making sure that things continuously get updated, correct?
Yeah, we have a stable of writers who are always looking to keep those older stories up to date if they need any additions, especially about a current player who, maybe they've had some changes in their career in the past year or two, so we make sure they stay fresh.
Absolutely. So, all of us have all been looking for something to do, when there hasn't been hockey. What have you been able to do, or what kinds of activities have you been able to find during the pandemic?
Well, in a word, wine.
Yes.
Lucky me. I started a little YouTube show just to indulge my hobby. I started collecting wine a little while ago, and thought it'd be fun to get onto YouTube and just talk about it a little bit with a good dear friend of mine named Ron Scheig.
So what kind of wine would you recommend to those? Because I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are looking for a good wine.
Well, it depends on your budget. Chateauneuf-du-Pape is fantastic. It's a region in France, in the southern France, not too expensive. If you have a few more dollars, look for Barolo from northern Italy. It costs a few bucks, but you won't taste anything else like it.
And what's the name of the wine channel on YouTube?
Drink This.
Drink This.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Absolutely. So fans, if you're looking for that sort of thing, you want to get into that, it's called Drink This. Make sure you subscribe to that on YouTube. So Bruce, just everything that you've been through since the site, the Hockey Writers, has started, did you ever imagine being here in 2020 with where everything is at right now?
Well, you know that nobody could imagine what 2020 had in store for us.
True.
In our wildest dreams. This is crazy. But as far as business goes in the site, when I first started, I did have an idea of where I wanted it to go. I thought we had a lot of potential. I did a lot of research on looking at some individual NHL club sites, and it seemed as though they're all getting half decent traffic. This is going back 10, 12 years ago. And I thought, man, if we could put 30 of those all in one, and there were only 30 teams in NHL back then, if we could put all 30 into one big collective, that's some pretty serious traffic, and we could really feed off each other and have it grow. So I did think it had some potential. Now, of course, we've far exceeded those early dreams. Things just keep getting better and stronger all the time. I never imagined that we'd have a bunch of fantastic photographers and editors and all the media passes that we've been getting and the exposure all over the place. I didn't think it would get this big.
Yeah, and that's just it too. I think a lot of fans, maybe they've heard of the hockey writers, they've seen it around, but I don't think a lot of fans realize, one, how many writers are on staff, two, that there's photographers and editors who are credentialed, and there are writers that are credentialed. So even though it might not be the big mainstream companies that everyone is accustomed to seeing, it seems like that it definitely has its place in the market. And I just think that that's something that can really only get better over time, especially putting so much work into it.
Certainly. And don't forget Vince, our stellar graphic guy. He does an amazing job.
Listen, yeah, if you guys ever see the articles out there, it has some of the great graphics out there. Vince is the man. Let's just call it like we see it. He does some outstanding work and just makes all of the writers better as a result of that. So Bruce, just for those that are not familiar with the hockey writers, just how exactly did the hockey writers get started? And then just, do you recall some of the early moments of the site that you could just remember?
Well, I've been making websites for a long time. I made my first one back in '95. So I was pretty comfortable in the internet environment and making sites. And so I owned a used bookshop back in 2007, 8. And we all know what happened back then with the economy. So when things crashed, I ended up going back to work into, let's call it cubicle land, which was not satisfying. So I think after a couple of weeks of working there, I was looking for an escape route. And I thought, well, I have this experience with websites. So I thought I'd start a website. And sports has been in my family forever. My father was actually a part of the Canadiens organization back in the day, played for the Ottawa Junior Canadiens. And even before that, he was coached by Scotty Bowman in the Quebec Senior League with the Quebec Ponsards. So he's got an old tradition of hockey. I played since I was a kid. Now my son plays. So all that to say, hockey's been running strong in our family for a long time. So I put my two loves of hockey and the internet together. And there you go. And then the early idea, like I mentioned, was to get those 30 clubs all going together. So my idea was write a really good, compelling email to convince some great writers that they could do a nice job joining forces with their peers and putting it all under one roof, which we did successfully at the beginning. But my real early memories of the site all are based on the writers we had back then. Chris Ralph really put us on the map doing prospects in the draft. That's where we really kind of made a name for ourselves. And he was joined by Mike Colligan and Monica McAllister, Jazz Faulkner, James Naveau. All these guys were really, really good writers. So I didn't have a whole lot to do myself. They just kind of took off, always with quality in mind. And they just did a great job right from the start. And then they were kind of slowly replaced by some of our current veterans like yourself. And Andrew Forbes and Dan Rice and Larry Fisher. So we just had a constant stream of really good writers.
Yeah, and I've been here now. I started in July of 2014. It seems like everything's just been in a blink. And yeah, just everything that I've seen, even in just that little bit of 6-year period of time, kind of a transition from then until now. And being out on the road and being able to see, I've actually had people stop me. You're that guy from the hockey writers, aren't you? And I just think that that's really cool because it means that the public knows about the brand, the hockey writers. And
that's a lot of fun. A quick little story is that my son plays hockey for his high school team, and we're at the rink 2 years ago. And one of the parents of his teammate came up to me and said, you run that site called The Hockey Writers. And I said, yeah, I do. He says, I read that every day. It's my go-to source for sports. And didn't only make my day, that made my month. I couldn't stop thinking. I was really proud. And I kind of don't realize that we actually touch people and get to people and connect with people. Kind of don't see it from, sitting at home behind the laptop. So when someone comes up to you and shakes your hand and say, nice job, it was pretty cool.
And that's just it too. I could go story after story after story, but I don't think we realize who all does read it. I know general managers, I know executives, I know agents, I know players. I've had players and executives just DM me and just thanking for the story that you were written, we really appreciate the extra coverage. And then it's just that word of mouth gets around everywhere. So it's like when you get one positive story, it gets around. Like you said, hockey is a very small world, and it's just
that was
wonderful.
another back in the early days. One of the big kicks I got from the start was somebody sent me, I think it might have been Mike Colligan who sent me a note saying that the story we just published on Lemieux read it and he liked it. He wanted to pass that along. So that was pretty neat.
That's always neat to get
the execs. And coach with the Blue Jackets, that he takes a look at us from time to time. So we know when we get these the bigger names are checking us out, it feels nice.
It does, absolutely. So now, here in the present, just what have you guys tried to focus on right now to continue to position yourself well? I know we've mentioned the archives and other things like that, but just what kinds of other things are you guys really focusing on now to not only maintain, but to continue upward? Because I feel like that there's a sky the limit sort of thing going on here.
Yeah, well, we have to be really wary of the technology, how it's changing. We have to make sure we stay relevant and up to date. So we all know things like voice search are picking up, so we have to stay relevant with that. We have some big plans on growing our podcast network over the coming year. So there's that. And just whatever technologies happen to come ahead of us, we're fortunate that we're able to be a very nimble company, and whatever changes come up, we want to be at the forefront of it, including video and including the show that you're doing right now. It's a new show, and we want to be a part of that, that segment. So just staying relevant and staying up to date with everything.
Absolutely. And now there's probably a lot of folks out there that might be watching this saying, I want to get into writing. I want to become a journalist. I'm interested in maybe doing a podcast or different things like that. So maybe there is an opportunity. So what do you say to those that are potentially interested in wanting to learn more about the Hockey Writers or potentially applying to join?
Well, if they want to come by our site, you can just go to the website, and there's a link at the top saying join us, and there'll be a little page there explaining everything. But just in general, some advice to writers: if you want to get into the business, write and write and write a lot. I mean, write 3-4 stories a day. Just keep at it. You won't improve unless you do it frequently. And then getting back to the website itself, we have a terrific guy who handles all of our incoming writers named Kyle Geip. So if you get in touch with us, you'll certainly be speaking with Kyle, and he'll help walk you through the process, which is not too hard.
No, it's really not. I mean, even that has come a ways since I even started here, having, Dean in place, having Kyle in place. There's people in the right places, and that really helps with the structure. So, you want to join here, you're going to get expertise from 150, 160 writers, because the networking, and I can't stress the networking enough. If you want to get in, you've got to get to know people, and you've got to be willing to learn. And you, like you said, write. Your quality is the thing that's going to speak above all things. And if you're out there and you really want to learn about this, there might be an opportunity for you. So make sure you go out to the hockeywriters.com. There's that join us link that he mentioned. You never know. I mean, I was in that position back in 2014. I didn't know, I never would have dreamt in my mind it would ever lead to something like this. And at that point, it ran through you. So,
and we're thrilled that you took a chance with us, you and our other, especially the veteran writers that we have. We're so proud that you guys have stuck with us. In some cases for many years. You're 6 years. I think Andrew is 7 years now, and Dan Rice must be at least 7 years
7
as well.
or 8, yeah.
So we got some good guys that have been with us for a long time.
And this goes for photographers too. I know it's a kind of a tough situation in the market right now, but we have those on staff as well. So if that's something you're interested in, there might be room there, especially once things get back to normal. So
yeah, actually there will be room there. We'll definitely be looking for a few new photographers.
Okay, let that be known. So now about the future. So I know you guys mentioned that there's going to be some stuff coming up down the line. Like, what's on the upcoming agenda, and what kinds of things do you want to see implemented? So just in other words, what direction do you want to see this site go?
I should get Dean to jump in here, because I'm really happy that he's sort of taken over the reins with a lot of the day-to-day operations. We have a dynamic duo with Dean Plunkett handling all of the managing of the site, and Kyle handling the writers. So everything's in good hands with them. personally, I just like to see steady as she goes. The ship is going in a good direction. We're getting more attention and more respect as time goes on. We just need to make sure quality stays high as it's always been.
Yep.
And I really just keep doing a lot of the same with an eye on the quality. And then again, like I said, more audio, more video, more podcasts.
And you want to be careful with Dean. You don't want to let his ego go too high there.
He deserves it. He does a fantastic job.
No, he's really incredible. He's basically my boss, more or less. You are, he is, Kyle is. It's a good crew here, so nothing but the best. So I figure we talk a little bit of hockey here with you because you're based in Montreal. You follow the Habs a lot, and there's obviously we could talk Habs all night here. But guess what I wanted to get from you, assuming that things go in order according to reports, we're going to get an all-Canadian division. So one, how cool is that we might get an all-Canadian division? And two, I just wonder, how do you think the Habs would fare in such a scenario?
Well, I think all Canadian hockey fans would be thrilled with an all-Canadian division. I can't imagine playing the Leafs. How many games is it? It's at least 8 or 9 games.
9 or 10. Yep.
10 games. I can't imagine the rivalry that's going to make. And the guys out in Alberta, the Edmonton, Calgary guys, they're going to be going bananas with that kind of rivalry. Personally, I think the Habs are going to do pretty well. I really love the young core that they put together. Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and I hope Caulfield makes a team next year. I got a chance to see him play, and boy, does that guy have a wicked shot. So, and Price is still in his prime. So things are looking pretty good for the team. And I'm really anxious to see that rivalry get kindled against the Leafs. That'll be a lot of fun.
And I'm really interested in seeing how Josh Anderson goes because he's the one that signed the long, lengthy extension. And I think he's going to get a lot of attention. And he's coming off a 1-goal season. So it's like, are we going to get the 20-goal scorer that he used to be? Or is this shoulder enough of an issue where it's going to really limit him? But I think most fans are going to watch that story more than most. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him. When he first announced he was coming here, to be honest, we didn't know that much about him because we don't watch a lot of games from the States up here, to be frank. So at first blush was like, who is this guy? And I had to kind of go look him up. And then I saw some clips and did some more reading on him. And looks, I think he's going to fit in really well. And I'm really, like you, really anxious to see what he's going to do this year. I think we're going to see a pretty top end player, to be honest.
A true power forward who threw down twice with Zdeno Chara. I mean, what more could you want as a Habs fan?
Yeah, I mean, would you do that?
No, I don't think so.
No,
But listen,
I don't think so either.
But that's the thing about his game though that is really interesting. He's very fast. He can finish when given the opportunity. He's willing to drop the gloves. He's willing to be physical. When was the last time Montreal had a true power forward that has the kind of game that Anderson has? And can't wait to see where that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year, I hope. And I hope Weber stays healthy and it could be some good things ahead of us.
Absolutely. And another player that I'm really interested in too, just to get your point of view on when you saw him, is Max Domi. Obviously traded as part of the Anderson deal. Just why do you feel like it maybe didn't work out as well? He had a really good season, but obviously they've moved on from him. Just what is Columbus actually going to get from him and what you've seen from Domi?
Well, when he's on his game, he's fantastic. He's super smart, fast. He's just one of the guys who's always in the right spot. And from what I gathered, his teammates really like him and stand up for him. And when you get that right kind of chemistry, that's when the good things happen, right? So I think when he gets in there, he's gonna lift the room a bit. He's going to hopefully find chemistry. I'm not sure who he's playing with. I guess we haven't seen the guys on the ice much, so we don't know who's going to be with who just yet.
Yep.
But depending on who he lines up with, it could be magic or he could struggle. I guess it's a lot with him. A lot of it comes down to chemistry with his line mates, I'd say.
Are the Leafs the team to beat in the All-Canadian division? And do you feel like Montreal can crack? I feel like they can crack the top 4. Just how good do you feel like they can be if everything works out right?
Well, being in Montreal, we never have great things to say about Toronto. I will say they're really exciting to watch, but it seems to me every time Toronto gets a really good team, they kind of falter a little bit between the pipes. So that's still my concern with them.
Yep.
And then when it comes to great teams, you always look at great leaders, great players. So we always look at McDavid and what he can do with that team out there.
Yeah.
I hope he can gather the troops there and really have Edmonton become a force. Calgary's got an exciting team too. So, to be honest, the Canadian division should be pretty strong, and I think the Habs should be in the top 2 or 3.
And listen, at the end of the day, there's going to be at least one Canadian team in the Final Four, assuming everything works out. It could be Montreal, could be Toronto, who knows? That's why they got to play the season. There's 56 games that are going to figure that out, plus some playoffs. So, Bruce, this has been really awesome. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be able to come on, talk about the site, talk about the direction, and just everything good that's going on with the Hockey Writers. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk more in the weeks to come. And I can't wait for hockey to get going.
Yeah, let's get this thing going. Absolutely. Like you said, this has been Bruce Hollingdrake here, founder and the owner of thehockeywriters.com. And so like I said earlier, we got some really good things coming up with this particular show. That there's some really good guests going to be coming for you here. Still a little undecided on how we're going to handle things once the season gets going, because there's going to be a lot of games, but we're going to try to come at least once a week with different guests, and we're going to bring some really good guests on. The one on January 12th, I know we had Cam Atkinson on, who's been our biggest guest to date. We're going to get a very big personality that's going to come join us on that day. So make sure you circle your calendars for that date. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you like that Facebook page so you don't ever miss anything that we got going on here. The best is yet to come. So fans, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. This is our last episode before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, however you'd like to celebrate. We'll be back next Wednesday night, and that's the 30th at 8 o'clock. We'll have Lisa Dillman from The Athletic talking about the Los Angeles Kings. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you next time.